except slightly.
3.
He said. Hook rallied his dogs with a gesture.
Good death and odds fish!
He thundered.
Who is to bring me that doodle-doo?
Wait till the Checo comes out,
growled Starkey, and the others took up the cry.
I think I heard you volunteer, Starkey,
said Hook, purring again.
No, by thunder!
Starkey cried.
My Hook thinks you did,
said Hook, crossing to him.
I wonder if it would not be advisable, Starkey, to humor the Hook.
I'll swing before I go in there,
replied Starkey doggedly, and again he had the support of the crew.
Is this mutiny?
Asked Hook more pleasantly than ever.
Starkey's the ringleader.
Captain, mercy.
Starkey whimpered, all of a tremble now.
Shake hands, Starkey,
said Hook, proffering his claw. Starkey looked round for help, but all deserted him. As he backed, Hook advanced, and now the red spark was in his eye. With a despairing scream, the pirate leapt upon Long Tom and precipitated himself into the sea.
4.
Said slightly.
And now?
Hook asked courteously.
Did any other gentleman say mutiny?
Seizing a lantern and raising his claw with a menacing gesture.
I'll bring out that doodle-doo myself,
he said, and sped into the cabin.
5.
How slightly longed to say it. He wetted his lips to be ready, but Hook came staggering out without his lantern.
Something blew out the light,
he said, a little unsteadily.
Something?
Echoed Mullins.
What of Checo?
Demanded Noodler.
He's as dead as Jukes,
said Hook shortly. His reluctance to return to the cabin impressed them all unfavorably, and the mutinous sounds again broke forth. All pirates are superstitious, and Cookson cried.
They do say the surest sign a ship's accursed is when there's one on board. They do say the surest sign a ship's accursed is when there's one on board more than can be accounted for. I've heard, muttered Mullins. He always boards the pirate's craft at last. He had a tale, Captain. They say, said another, looking viciously at Hook, that when he comes, it's the likeness of the wickedest man aboard. Had he a hook, Captain? Asked Cookson insolently, and one after another took up the cry, the ship's doomed! At this the children could not resist raising a cheer. Hook had well nigh forgotten his prisoners, but as he swung round on them, now his face lit up again.
Lads,
he cried to his crew.
Now here's a notion. Open the cabin door and drive them in. Let them fight the doodle-doo for their lives. If they kill him, we're so much the better. If he kills them, we're none the worse.
For the last time his dogs admired Hook, and devotedly they did his bidding. The boys, pretending to struggle, were pushed into the cabin and the door was closed on them.
Now listen,
cried Hook, and all listened. But not one dared to face the door. Yes, one, Wendy, who all this time had been bound to the mast. It was for neither a scream nor a crow that she was watching. It was for the reappearance of Peter. She had not long to wait. In the cabin he had found the thing for which he had gone in search, the key that would free the children of their manacles, and now they all stood forth, armed with such weapons as they could find, first signaling to them to hide. Peter cut Wendy's bonds, and then nothing could have been easier than for them to fly off together, but one thing barred the way, an oath.
Hook or me this time.
So when he had freed Wendy, he whispered for her to conceal herself with the others, and himself took her place by the mast, her cloak around him, so that he should pass for her. Then he took a great breath and crowed. To the pirates, it was a voice crying that all the boys lay slain in the cabin, and they were panic-stricken. Hook tried to hearten them, but like the dogs he had made them, they showed him their fangs. And he knew that if he took his eyes off them now, they would leap at him.
Lads,
he said, ready to cajole or strike as need be, but never quailing for an instant.
I've thought it out. There's a Jonah aboard.
Aye.
They snarled.
A man with a hook?
No, lads, no. It's the girl. Never was luck on a pirate ship with a woman aboard. We'll right the ship when she's gone.
Some of them remembered that this had been the saying of Flint's.
It's worth trying,
They said doubtfully.
Fling the girl overboard!
Cried Hook, and they made a rush at the figure in the cloak.
There's none can save you now, missy.
Mullins hissed jeeringly.
There's one.
Replied the figure.
Who's that?
Peter Pan the Avenger.
Came the terrible answer. And as he spoke, Peter flung off his cloak. Then they all knew who 'twas and had been Then they all knew who 'twas that had been undoing them in the cabin. And twice Hook essayed to speak, and twice he failed. In that frightful moment, I think his fierce heart broke. At last he cried,
Cleave him to the brisket!
but without conviction.
Down, boys, and at them!
Peter's voice rang out, and in another moment the clash of arms was resounding through the ship. Had the pirates kept together, it is certain that they would have won. But the onset came when they were all unstrung, and they ran hither and thither, striking wildly, each thinking himself the last survivor of the crew. Man to man, they were the stronger, but they fought on a defensive only, which enabled the boys to hunt in pairs and choose their quarry. Some of the miscreants leapt into the sea, others hid in dark recesses, where they were found by Slightly, who did not fight, but ran about with a lantern, which he flashed in their faces, so that they were half blinded and fell an easy prey to the reeking swords of the other boys. There was little sound to be heard but the clang of weapons, an occasional screech or splash, and Slightly's monotonously counting.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.